What is up, guys? Randomonium here, back with another patch notes video. This is patch 9.9, and my goodness, this is a massive patch. So this is going to take me a while to get through. So I apologize if this video is going to be a bit long, but I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. So first up, we have Aatrox. It looks like they did kind of almost like a mini rework on him, just a little bit. So they reduced his health regen considerably, but they gave his kit a lot more healing in his kit. So now instead of having the mutilation path on his passive, he now gains healing from his passive. So it's 5 to 10% of the target's maximum health. Cooldown is 15 seconds. And he gains cooldown refund on his passive of 2 seconds per attack or ability hit on enemy champions and large monsters, and per enemy champion hit with the edge of Darkened Blade. This makes him actually pretty strong for jungle. They did reduce the amount that he can heal off of jungle camps, but this actually could make him a lot stronger for the jungle, just because he has just a ridiculous amount of sustain right now. For his Q, the cooldown now starts, instead of on first cast, it starts after the third cast. Cooldown has been reduced though, from 16 to 12 seconds. Now it's 14 to 6 seconds. So I think that actually hurts his early game, but makes his late game stronger. Because you wind up with only like a 2-second benefit at level 1, but you wind up with like a 6-second benefit at the max rank, which I think is enough that it counteracts the fact that the cooldown doesn't start until after the third cast, and the damage is slightly higher. So it's higher at later ranks, but it's still the same at level 1. So it looks like this is a hit to his level 1, which potentially also pushes him more into the jungle, but makes him stronger later. W Infernal Chains. Now it's going to be 25% slow at all ranks, so equivalent to the rank 3. But since you're probably going to be maxing Infernal Chains last, this is a net buff to his early and mid game. Cooldown reduction is up though, so it definitely is going to be more impactful when you miss with this ability. So you definitely need to think that it's actually good, because it means that when you use it, you have to make sure you use it when it really counts. You can't just use it to like get a last hit on a minion or something like that. So I actually like that. It definitely gives him much more very well defined bursts of power in his kit. So for his E, they removed the amount of attack damage he gets, but now his healing is any non-periodic damage versus champions. So this actually potentially makes Conquer better on him as well, because now instead of it just being physical damage, it's any non-periodic damage. So that means the true damage he can also gain the healing off of. So that might be a straight up buff to Conquer Aatrox. I don't think the Aatrox, I think he sometimes goes Conquer, but he doesn't have to. This might make Conquer more mandatory on him. And then our World Ender. So, takedowns extend World Ender by 5 seconds, refresh its movement speed, allow Aatrox to revive upon taking lethal damage while World Ender is active. Oh, so does he not get the... He doesn't get the revive unless he gets a takedown? Am I reading that right? So it says that if you get the takedown, it's extend World Ender by 5 seconds, refresh his move speed, and allow Aatrox to revive upon taking lethal damage. But it doesn't sound like that he is able to revive on lethal damage unless he gets at least one takedown. That's really interesting. If that's the case, that definitely means that he can't just use it to like trade ultimates with someone. He has to use it to be able to get the takedown. The movement speed is now 60, 80, 100%, decaying over World Ender's duration instead of the 120, 180, 240. Oh, this is actually a lot better because it lasts for the entire duration rather than 1 second. Ooh, this makes him much more of an all-in champion. And his healing is increased by 40, 55, 70% increased healing during World Ender. Whoa, okay, so he's basically turns into God mode when he goes into World Ender now. But he has to get a takedown. He has to get that takedown in order to be able to proc the revive. But oh man, he's gonna be terrifying during his ultimate. You just gotta basically just gotta run away from him, but he's gonna be really fast, so it's gonna be really hard to run away from him. Wow. Okay. This is definitely interesting. I think that this is definitely buffs for Aatrox all around. Definitely could see him both in top lane and the jungle, and potentially even back into mid lane. But yeah, definitely a net buff for Aatrox. Blitzcrank, passive shield adjusted, are changed to mark targets with auto attacks. So his passive now 30% of his maximum mana rather than his current mana. So I think that's gonna be a net buff for most mana levels. Yeah. So okay, that's interesting. His rocket grab they updated. Okay, this is actually good because I used to always hate it because his the hook had a really weird like targeting on it, and yeah, you could call it like a skill thing, but come on now, let's just actually have some clarity and actually show the actual width and distance of the hook to make it actually like line up with the hitbox. And then his static field, now instead of it being random, I hated the randomness because the Blitzcrank would always steal CS and things like that. Now they make it so that he marks his targets hit by basic attacks. Enemies marked take 50, 100, 150 after a 1 second delay. I'm curious to know how often he can mark targets. So is that like every time he auto attacks, he can mark the target, or if there's like a certain, it's only once within a certain time period? So I feel like there's a little bit more information that's missing from this tooltip. So I'm curious to see like what the cooldown is on that, because that could definitely change how he's played or even where he's played. Maybe that he's not just a support champion anymore. We'll see. For Rakan, looks like they upped his health, they upped his armor or they reduced his attack damage, upped his magic resistance, upped his magic resist growth. So he's just tankier now. Up the speed on his grand entrance, but they now made it so that he can't cast grand entrance or flash within the first 5 seconds of the quickness. So what this means is that in general he is tankier and he can get his W off faster, but it looks like he can't do that like instantaneous combo anymore using his ultimate. It looks like it does give people a little bit of an opportunity to flash and things like that. So I'm curious to see whether this brings him back into the meta or not. Soraka's got a bit of I wouldn't call it a mini rework, but they definitely changed a lot of her power away from her E and into her Q. So cooldown, instead of 5 seconds all ranks, now it's 8 to 4 seconds. The self-heal is up considerably, so it went from 56 to 88 to 60 over 140. Ability power is a little bit higher as well. The duration is a little bit higher, so she heals less per second a little bit. Same with the rejuvenation. Ally heal is definitely a lot higher. And the initial ticks heal more than later ticks, so that's actually really useful if you're trying to save like a low health ally. Or save Soraka if she's low health. And the damage looks like it's a little bit lower. But it looks like she gains more movement speed. So that gives her Q quite a bit more power within the laning phase. And it looks like they are they're nerfing some of the later damage on her E to compensate. So this is to get rid of potentially E max Soraka in lane. So level 1 the damage is still the same. Mana cost goes up. Cooldown's actually down at earlier ranks. So you're actually so this is definitely to decentivize people doing the E max, because the now 16 seconds, it was 16 seconds, it's still 16 seconds. Mana cost goes up by 20, and then damage is down by 50. So you don't gain near as much by putting additional ranks in E. But if you only put 1 rank in E, you get cooldown is 4 seconds less, and the damage is still the same. So that makes sense. They definitely want to move more towards Qmax Soraka rather than Emax. And yeah, I think this could be good for Soraka. Bye bye Battle Soraka, I guess, is kind of a bad thing, but maybe this potentially opens up Soraka for other buffs in the future that'll bring her back into the pro play. Tahm Kench has been just a huge nightmare in pro play, but he hasn't been terribly strong in solo queue, so we'll see what they do. So they're buffing his base health, slightly reducing his health growth, but it's still going to be a net increase in health that he gets, and his movement speed is up by 10. So that's basically a buff right there. Now he gains bonus damage is 1.5 Tahm Kench maximum health at all levels. So that means that his laning phase is actually stronger because now it's 1.5% instead of 1.25%. So that's a buff to his laning phase. Slow duration increase up to 2 seconds, so that's a buff. But the cooldown now is 8 to 4 instead of 5 seconds at all ranks, so that's actually a nerf to his laning phase. But the tongue range is longer and the slow is greater at earlier ranks. So I think overall a net buff to the tongue lash. But now it looks like his W is going to slow Tahm Kench by the same amount that when he devours an enemy champion. And this is a massive nerf to him. Because it used to be that you gobble up an ally and run him out of there really fast. You can't do that anymore, it looks like. He's gained mana refund when he devours an enemy champion, so it's incentivizing you to grab enemy champions more. Cooldown is down, so it's every 20 seconds. Interesting. And it looks like the amount of damage it deals is better against squishier targets, potentially. So it used to be only the based off of the target to maximum health, so it was 20 to 36% of the target to maximum health, which was a lot if you had a tanky target. Now it has a base damage associated with it, so 100 to 240 base damage, and then it's 5 to 13% of the target's maximum health. So this actually makes it a bit stronger, I guess, against squishy targets, but probably weaker against tankier targets. I still think you're going to probably be using his W to save allies, but you won't be able to get them that far away from danger as you used to be able to. So that's kind of interesting. His gray health looks like, or his thick skin also got a buff, it looks like. So the heal is now 20 to 40% rather than 15 to 35%. Shield, instead of 70 to 90%, it's 80 to 100%. So he's going to be a lot tankier when he gobbles someone up, but he's probably going to take more damage because he can't run away very quickly. So this is going to make it probably a lot harder to use Tahm Kench effectively. Interesting. Wow. So the range on his Abyssal Voyage is down considerably at rank 1, but it's up considerably at rank 3. And looks like in general the cooldown has been nerfed as well. Huh. So he's more powerful in laning phase. Potentially. Not as good at saving allies, but has a bit more utility and tankiness as the game goes on. It'd be interesting to see. It's kind of hard to really piece out whether this is going to be a net buff or nerf. I think it's going to make him not permaban status anymore, but he's still going to be really useful in the pro scene. So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how these changes work out. All right, Akali. Extended duration when breaking invis. So went from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. Okay. And the cooldown is now 25 seconds instead of 21 at earlier ranks. Alright, so they're nerfing her laning phase more. So Akali is super powerful in pro play. She gets banned a lot. But she's not very good in solo queue, because most people can't really pilot her. I'm kind of wondering if they're targeting the right thing on her right now. It feels like Akali, when she really kind of takes over the game, is in the mid game. They're nerfing her early game, I guess, to potentially make it so that she can't snowball in the mid game. But I don't know, maybe they should attack her mid game instead. Kind of hard to say. Darius buffs, so it looks like Q Decimate going from 12 to 36% of Darius' missing health to 15 to 45% of Darius' missing health. That's really nice for those late game team fights. And looks like the damage is up by 10, and that's it. But that's going to make his survivability significantly higher if he hits those really juicy 3 enemy champion axes. Don't know if it's going to be enough to bring him up into the pro meta, but solo queue Darius is going to be loving this buff. So Echo, base damage increased, and E-cost decreased at later ranks. So attack damage 55 to 58. That's not a huge deal. And then mana cost on his phase drive down to 60 mana at max rank rather than 80 mana. Okay, yeah. I guess this helps him a little bit better. So maybe he makes his jungle stronger a little bit. I don't think it's really going to affect mid lane Echo too much. But we might see a little bit more Echo played. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be huge, like earth-shaking, bringing him back in the meta. Alright, Hecarim. Q bonus damage decrease. So yeah, they buffed it, now they're nerfing it, so it's 5% per stack. And E min and max damage decreased later. So he starts off still at 45 and 90, but now it's 165 instead of 185, and it's 330 instead of 370. So that's a pretty significant nerf to Hecarim's mid game, because he usually maxes E second. So I think that Hecarim will still be pretty strong in the meta, but he'll be even more reliant upon snowballing, because Hecarim is one of those junglers where you got to get ahead if you want to be really effective on him, because his build is so expensive. Alright, Jarvan, they're nerfing base health, mana, and mana regen very slightly. And they're nerfing his W. I wish they would stop doing this. Like, leave his W alone. Like, when they took it down to 1.5% of his maximum, I think that's what they did previously, and it took him out of the meta, and they buffed it back up again, and it brought him back into the meta, and now they're probably going to take him out of the meta again. Just leave the W alone. I think that they should, if they want to nerf him in other regions, because like they say they want to hit the fallback Q over W max, so it's less effective. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I like it when I have the ability to go W max on Jarvan and things like that. It gives him a lot more versatility in his kit, which is what divers are all about. So I definitely kind of disagree with this. I would have preferred that they had hit Q damage or something, or I don't know. They could have hit the Demacia standard cooldown or the Q cooldown or even the W cooldown, but hitting the actual shielding effect, I feel like is the wrong direction to go for Jarvan. Kennen bonus resistances removed from his E, but they added them to his R. So now instead of gaining 10 to 50 bonus resistances, now he gains 20 to 60. So it's a net buff for him in the late game, but a little bit of nerf to him pre-level 6. Interesting. So yeah, they're making him more of an all-in champion, but I don't think this really changes him that much at all. Changing the kindred marks. Okay, so that's to match the Rift Scuttler changes. That makes sense below. So now the first mark spawns at 315. I like that. And I like it because I'll talk about it more with the Rift Scuttle changes, but this makes Kindred less reliant upon her laners in the early game. W damage increased late. So looks like the Ring of Frost damage went from 190 at max rank to 210 at max rank, and the ability power ratio is much higher, 0.3 to 0.5. Don't think this is enough to bring her like really strong back into the meta, especially since they're nerfing Aftershock. Yeah, I think they overdid it with Lissandra. She's not coming back for a little while. Q damage on Maokai. They went from 65 to 225 to 70 to 250. I don't think this is going to really bring him back. Maybe like really situationally, but yeah, I think Maokai needs more love than just this in order to bring him back into the meta. Morgana, E cooldown increased and shield strength decreased. This is good. It makes it so 26 to 18 instead of, it used to be 23 to 15, and the shield looks like it's minus 10 for each rank. So went from 70 to 350 to 60 to 300. Morgana's just one of those champions that she can just completely destroy certain team comps, and she's just like it's a very good niche pick. And a really good ban. If like you're going for a catch comp, you definitely want to ban Morgana because Black Shield can like shut down an entire catch comp. But yeah, I guess I can agree. I can get behind these nerfs. Since we are seeing her a lot more even in mid lane and support in pro play. But yeah, I don't think she's really overpowered. She's just really good in certain situations. Nerfs to rek'sai. So attack damage is down slightly. Attack growth is down slightly. This is a little bit bigger. So this winds up being, it's like a third of an ability power per level. So that's going to make it like 6. Sorry, not ability power. So 6 AD at max rank. I guess that's not huge. Burrowed Prey Seeker went from 11 to 7 to 12 to 10. Okay. You can't do as many Q snipes anymore. Like the Prey Seeker is actually really useful for like marking the target, so you can get the ultimate off on them. You could get some kills under tower with it. Really useful, but I understand why they're nerfing it. And then the Furious Bite looks like the damage is down slightly. Looks like it's down 5 for minimum damage and down 10 for the empowered true damage. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think he's still going to, or she is going to be really good in the meta still. Rek'sai just deals just an absurd amount of damage in the early game and mid game, so she's still going to be very useful, especially in professional play. And since Jarvan's getting nerfed, typically it was Rek'sai Jarvan. But with Jarvan getting nerfed and Rek'sai kind of getting these pseudo nerfs that aren't really that bad at all, I would say that Jarvan's nerfs are much more severe. This is going to put even a higher priority on rek'sai. Shaco. Interesting Shaco. So Sweeping Lens no longer reveals and immediately deactivates. Oh, it's on a buff. Okay, so actually it looks like it's a nerf, because instead of it revealing and immediately activating them, it only reveals them. Oh, I see what they did. So actually it is a buff. So it actually would activate them, so then they would die off, and you wouldn't have to go into range to actually clear them. Okay, so yeah, this is a buff to Shaco. Still don't think we're going to see him in competitive play, but I'm sure Pink Ward is happy. Shen, base attack speed ratio increased, E damage ratio increased. So went from 2 to 3%. Okay, so this can make Wit's End a bit more situational on him or something like that. Shadow Dash. Base damage is still the same, but the bonus health damage went from 0.12 to 0.15. Don't think that's going to be enough to bring him back into the meta. Maybe in like really situational picks. Silas, looks like they're saying that they over nerfed him. That they're changing it so his base damage is up a little bit on Kingslayer. Okay, I still think Silas is really terrifying, especially at the professional level. So yeah, this is going to make him really a contentious pick. In a lot of the games, he was red side banned, so that way blue side couldn't first pick him. He still might be that. I'll have to see what happens with MSI. Obviously, this is the patch for after MSI, but it'll be interesting to see whether he just completely drops off the map for the MSI patch. And Volibear, so they're increasing his clear speed, so his attack speed is up considerably. Volibear still has a lot of issues with his kit that I don't think are going to get remedied by this stuff. I don't think we're going to see him that much. I still think that somebody like an Udyr is just more useful, at least from like a solo queue or even like a flex queue perspective than Volibear. And you know, I already brought this up, but his his in-game model does not match his lore. He needs a rework. As much as I love Volibear, he needs a rework. I would love to see what he gets turned into when he turns into 1,000 Pierced Bear, when he turns into the true demigod that he deserves to be. So, yep. hashtag rework Volibear, and hopefully we get to see him in his true form in the near future. Removing Hunter's Potions makes sense. It hasn't really been that useful anymore since Sustain is usually pretty good with the little honey fruit, and the Scuttle Crabs give a lot of health and mana back, and you can get a lot of health and mana back with Smite and stuff like that, and of course the buffs and everything. So yeah, it makes sense that they're removing Hunter's Potion. Also, it took up an item slot, which made it very difficult to work in a lot of times. Manamune, damage increased from 25 to 35. Yep, Ezreal mains will like this, of course. There might be a few other champions who like it. Ashe VFX updates. I think those look pretty cool. Same with Caitlyn. I love Ashe and Caitlyn. I love Jax, so this is great. Renekton's also awesome. So can't wait to see these. I'm sure Ashe and Caitlyn and Jax and Renekton will all get slight boosts in their play rate, just so people can check out the new effects that they've got. But obviously it's not going to affect their win rate that much. Aftershock. Okay, resistances no longer scale with level. They now scale with other resistances up to a level cap. Damage no longer scaled with AD or AP. So this is designed to basically hit a lot of those champions that were non-tanks that were using it to gain a lot of tank stats. Looking at you, like Lysandra and Ryze and a bunch of other people. So this is actually great, and this actually really helps tanks, but it really hurts the mages that are using it. And the problem that we see a lot of times that Riot does is they nerf the champion, and then they nerf the rune that was making the champion strong, and then they don't buff the champion again. So then the champion is in this horrible state. I feel like this is where Lysandra's going to be at, and potentially Ryze and other champions who are using Aftershock in order to gain a lot of power from it based off of how it was situated. So hopefully they don't like just leave those champions and just kind of like this weird limbo state for a while. So the changes are from 70 to 120 is what it used to be. Now it's 70 plus 0.5 bonus armor and 0.5 magic resist, up to 150 additional. So it's it's definitely a buff if you're going tank. So it used to be that it was maxed out at 120. Now it's maxed out at 150 if you have enough armor or magic resist. And then the damage is now still the same, 10 to 120. But instead of basing it off of attack damage and ability power, they increase the damage based off of maximum health by 1%. So straight up buff to all tank champions and a straight up nerf to anyone else who uses Aftershock who does not build a lot of resistances or health. Alright, bone plating damage blocked is up. So a lot more people might be going bone plating again. Celerity, instead of being 10%, all movement speed bonus are 10% effective. Now it's 1% movement speed plus all movement speed bonus are 7% more effective. It's still going to be a niche rune. They need to make this more. This needs to be like 2 or 3% or something like that for people to really want to take it. Rather than, I think the 1% is just kind of a token amount of movement speed that winds up only being like 3-4% movement speed. Yeah, so people aren't going to really notice that. Cheap shot, 8 to 40. Now it's 10 to 45. Definitely okay with that. Conditioning, 8 bonus armor and magic resist. Now it's 9. Okay, it's not going to make a huge difference, but I guess it's nice. Demolish now shows how much damage it's going to do. Ghost Poro gets a buff. I actually really like the new Ghost Poro. I've been running it in a lot of my games with teams because it just gives you a lot more vision. So now it looks like you can be able to stack it a lot faster with you get those adaptive force a lot faster. Magical footwear now is going to be based a lot more on getting those tank down. So now it's we went from 10 minutes to 12 minutes, but now it's reduced by 45 seconds instead of 30 seconds for each takedown. I don't think this is going to really affect who takes it. It's going to be the same people who can delay the boots. They're going to take it. Relentless Hunter. Now it's going to be that's a lot more. So it's went from 8 to 10, and then it goes from 8 per stack to 9 per stack. So a lot of champions, a lot of junglers are going to really like this change. And also like roaming supports are going to really like this change. Scorch, 10 to 30, now 15 to 35. Don't think that's going to really impact Scorch that much. It still just has too much of its power taken out of it now. Ultimate Hunter went from 5 plus 3 per stack, now it's 5 plus 4 per stack, so now it's 25% max stacks. There are a lot of champions that are going to like that change. Karthus, Nocturne, to name a few. But yeah, that's going to make Ultimate Hunter, a lot more people are going to want it. 25%, additional 25% off your ultimate. And then if you also max out your CDR, Jesus, that's a lot off your cooldowns on your ultimate. I can think of a lot of really cool comps to run with everybody running Ultimate Hunter, and Presence of Mind, I think, is the other one that reduces your ultimate cooldown. Yeah, so this has definitely got me theory crafting already. We could have a lot of fun comps with everybody having ultimates really, really fast. Rift Scuttler changes. So this is it looks really small, but this is a huge change. And I'll try to explain it, and I'll try not to go into like a huge amount of depth and go on for way too long, because I know this has already been a pretty long video. But so initially it was at 2 minutes. And yeah, they're talking about this causes a lot of conflict with your laners, because skull crabs are so important. So you're relying on laners to put down wards and pixel brushes, and you're relying on them to rotate towards scuttle crabs and leave their lanes where they're not very powerful, and they just want to sit in their lane and farm a little bit more. And if your team isn't paying attention, it's frustrating as all hell. And it feels like you as a jungler a lot of times don't have control. It's really dependent upon your laners and what's the state of the lanes and whether or not you can actually get to that scuttle crab. I like that they're making it a little bit later. What this means is that it's going to wind up, you don't need to do those pixel brush wards at like the 1 minute mark anymore. Those are not going to be as useful. You definitely want to delay your warding until around like the 250 mark. You want to light up the river around 250, and you want to try and get your lanes pushing a little bit around that 250 mark, so that way you can contest those early scuttle crabs and fight over them then. But it means you don't have to drop your wards as early as you used to be able to. So keep that in mind. This also does favor a lot of the junglers that want to farm more. So it favors the tank junglers, it favors the farming junglers, because now they're going to be, level 3 when they're going to be contesting these scuttle crabs rather than being level 2. This actually also helps rek'sai in the rek'sai versus Jarvan matchup, because level 2 Jarvan beats rek'sai. About level 3 rek'sai is a lot, can at least go even, potentially beat the Jarvan if she gets the jump on him. So this actually really sways the jungle matchup for Jarvan and rek'sai even more, since Jarvan also got the nerfs. So lots of huge changes that are there's gonna be a huge shakeup in the jungle just because of this change. Not on top of the other nerfs. I think that your tank junglers are gonna be a lot more prevalent in the meta. Sejuani, Skarner, yeah, anybody who wants to go Cinderhulk is going to be a lot stronger in the meta, especially with these later scuttle crab takes. Okay, looks like we get some bug fixes. There was a bug fix at the top that was for Yasuo with his, if he changes the camera, he gets like his Q back, I guess. The cooldown is refunded or something. They fix that, and there's a bunch of other bug fixes that looks like they've got. And then the upcoming skins would be Conquer Alistar. Looks like a really awesome skin. He'll get a gold chroma. Conqueror Varus is getting gold chroma. Nidalee, Karma, and Ari are also getting gold chromas. Definitely might go for this Conqueror Varus gold chroma. Seems pretty cool. But yeah, can't get out of it now. Okay, there we go. So, all in all, I think this is a good patch, but this is a massive shakeup. There's a lot in this patch. Jungle changes are pretty huge. Darius might be back. Tahm Kench won't be permabanned probably in pro play. Soraka definitely got some nice changes to her. I don't know if Rakan's going to be back. It's hard to tell whether these are net buffs or nerfs to him. Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is definitely going to be back. Yeah, and the Aatrox. This is going to be interesting. Definitely see Aatrox coming back into the meta pretty strong. with a lot of these changes. So tank junglers, I think, are on the rise. I don't think we're going to see tanks take over the top lane yet. I think that it'll be more these juggernauts and skirmishers are probably going to still be prevalent in the top lane. I still think you're going to have mainly tanky supports. Braum, Tahm Kench, Alistar, those types. I don't think we're going to get into an enchanter meta yet. And I don't think that we're really going to see too many changes in mid lane or bot lane meta picks. But I definitely think you're going to see, I think rek'sai is going to be, that she might go to permaban status because she's just going to be like the best early game jungler, I think, in the meta right now. But tank junglers are definitely going to rise in priority. So yeah, I hope that all made sense. I know this is really long, so if you made it this far, then I definitely appreciate you guys. And if you want me to keep doing these patch notes, please let me know. I like doing them, but I want to make sure that I'm adding something to the conversation. So anyway, leave your thoughts below in the comments, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium signing off.